This is the Corner Cutter Podcast, episode 44. Let's roll it. Hey, welcome to the Corner Cutter Podcast. Podcasting since 2014. I'm your host, Josh. And this is the most consistent cubing podcast dedicated to entertain and educate you with conversations from cubers all across the sport. My website is thecornercutterpodcast.com, and thank you so much for joining me today. This week we have tons of records to cover, as well as quite a few updates. You guys will be able to listen to the podcast a little bit easier now, at least some of you guys. So why don't we jump right into cubing news? First off, Max Park, he broke the 7x7 world record single and mean. This was crazy. He got a 147.89 single and a 157.1 mean. Wow. So his mean broke the previous single. That was amazing. Then he got the world record 6x6 mean, 117.37. And that broke it by about 6 seconds as well. So that was amazing. Then he broke the 5x5 average, broke that by 0.43. So it is now 42.56. And the 3x3 blind single was also broken by Max Hillard. He got 17.55. The West Coast Cubing Tour recently started. The first competition was in Los Angeles, and then a few days later in Fresno. Coming up on July 18th, they will be in Nevada. So Felix, Max, and Kevin will be attending all those competitions. Another interesting thing that happened recently was Philip Weir got the 3x3 European record for average. It is 6.41, so he's getting down there. I think that's currently third in the world. A crazy thing that happened this past Sunday was Jaden McNeil got a 4.97 3x3 single. Now, the solve would have been about 3.8. That's right, 3.8 seconds. It's because he got a last layer skip. The solve was 23 moves, or would have been 23 moves, but he dropped the cube at around 3.63 seconds. So that was a huge world record fail. That would have been amazing, and the first sub-4 official 3x3 solve. That's really too bad, and the video is hard to watch. But I'll have the link to the video in the show notes, thecornercutterpodcast.com. Let's move on to a few releases. Biggest release this week is the GAN 354M. It is currently around $40 on pre-order. Now, what's interesting about this cube is it's a stickerless. It's very similar to the GAN 356 SM, but it has the upgraded V3 GES system, as well as only being 54 millimeters. So the pros are it's 54 millimeters, it has the upgraded GES system, and it's stickerless, which some people like. A lot of people were asking for a stickerless version of the GAN Air SM. So here you guys go. I wish they would offer a black plastic version of this as well, because I don't prefer my 3x3 main stickerless. I mean, I can use stickerless puzzles, but I would not like to get used to using it all the time. I really do like that it is 54 millimeters, though. I tried, I think it's a Mofeng Zhao Shi 5.0 centimeter 3x3. That one feels amazing size-wise. The 56 millimeter puzzle is just too big for me. I can use it fine, but I would love a smaller puzzle, so this sounds really nice. The Sen Huan Zan Lang M 2x2 was recently released, and it's been hyped quite a bit, especially by Speedcube Shop. It comes in black and stickerless, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, but it's a sub-brand of Moyu. And finally, YJ released the Guanlong V3. It's still a very cheap puzzle, so perfect budget 3x3. Did you know you can support the show financially when you purchase cubes from cube stores? If you go over to thecornercutterpodcast.com/support, you can find all the ways you can do that. Mainly by using the code CornerCutter when ordering from Cube Depot and thecubicle.us, and using my Cube Depot and Speedcube Shop affiliate links. That really helps out the show because it's not free to produce. I gotta pay quite a bit for hosting. So I do appreciate you guys using those codes and links. Rating for this week is the Qiyi Master Pyraminx. I recently picked up this puzzle, and it's pretty good. I haven't had any of the previous Master Pyraminxes from Lan, or the other one was, I think it was Sheng Xiao. And those aren't that good, so I'm pretty sure this one definitely increased the hardware. Puzzle design is very similar to the X-Man Bell Pyraminx, same corner system for the corner, or tips, I should say. Same tip caps. When I got mine, it was pretty tight, so I took it apart and loosened it up a little bit. And I've solved it a few times without watching a video or anything, so I wanted to do that first. The centerpiece can be a little confusing, and I'm not able to get it every time. I've just happened to solve it a few times, but I can solve the rest of the puzzle easily. It took a little while to figure it out, though. I got the stickless version, same shades as the X-Man Bell Pyraminx, but I'm glad to see Qiyi branching out and taking control of the Master Pyraminx market. It is definitely an upgrade from the previous puzzles. It's easy to tell. And that wraps up cubing news, records, releases, and ratings. Let's move on to some personal stuff. First, I recently magnetized my Lingao clock. Now, that was amazing. For the past year, well, mainly the past month, I've gotten really frustrated with pins on the clock. My pins were really loose, so they would just fall down. So on each turn, I would have to hold all of them up, and holding 3 pins up at the same time can be a little tricky. But I got pretty good at it, and I was averaging about 22 seconds. Then I decided to magnetize my clock, so ordered all the magnets from eBay, and they were from the UK. So those took a little while to get here, but finally got that figured out, watched a few YouTube videos on how to make a Lingao clock, or a magnetic clock, and then finally magnets arrived, and first thing I did was lube the clock and take out the little metal pins that are supposed to hold the pins up. Removed those and lubed the clock, and it got really fast, which I loved. If you've never magnetized a clock before or seen one magnetized, what you do is you take a ring magnet, put it around where the pin comes up, and then you stick a smaller magnet on top of the pin. So when you push the pin down, it stays there, and you do that on both sides. So I glued those in with super glue. Before that, I should say, I did some tests on whether I should do it Lego Boise 3's way, where you drill out the plastic so the magnet sits down a little farther so it's not sticking out. I was going to do it like that, but I didn't have the correct drill bit. I had a drill bit that might have worked, but it wouldn't have looked the best. So I decided not to do it that way. So after I got it all done, my clock was and still is amazing. After just a few solves, I got down to averaging around 16 seconds. So I improved 6 seconds just by magnetizing my clock. So you can see how much hardware can help sometimes. And now I really enjoy solving it. It's fun to hear the clicking. It is pretty loud, but clock is one of my more favorite events now. This wasn't a pitch for what I'm about to share, but I have sets of everything you need, or all the magnets you need for making a magnetic clock. I'm in the USA, and the price is $15 free shipping. It would cost you about $17, almost $18 to get them from the UK, and the other magnets are from the US. And so you would have to wait a little while and pay more. So if you're interested in making a magnetic clock, shoot me an email and you can buy those magnets from me. And you can get all the magnets you need to make your clock magnetic for only $15. Moving on from magnetic clocks, I wanted to share with you guys currently my favorite podcast. I really enjoy listening to him every week. He has inspirational content, and this is more focused on you older listeners, adult listeners, only because he talks about how to take your business and your life to the next level. So it's geared toward adults. The name of the podcast is The Cliff Ravenscraft Show, and he's always first on my list to listen to every week. His content is so informative and inspirational. I definitely recommend you subscribe to his podcast, and you can visit his website, thecliffravenscraftshow.com, and I'll have a link in the show notes as well. And now let's move on to some TCCP updates. Did you know you could be featured on an upcoming episode of the Corner Cutter podcast? What you need to do to possibly come on the podcast is go to thecornercutterpodcast.com/guest and look at the list of shows that you could possibly be on. Then you fill out the contact form or the guest form, and you give your name and email, and then tell what show you want to be on, and then how will you add value to the podcast? That's an important part of being on the show. How are you going to add value to the podcast? And then also list what do you want to talk about. And if I like your application, I will put you on the list for one of the shows. The main shows you could be featured on are the YouTuber show. We talk about how to make good quality videos and grow your channel. Another one that we will be doing very soon is Cubu Chats, where I just get several people on and we talk cubing. And then Cubing Debates, where two people debate some controversial cubing topics. So if you're interested, go to thecornercutterpodcast.com/guest. Question of the month. I did not have a July question of the month because I skipped a few episodes, or skipped an episode and was late for one episode. So there wasn't enough time to get your questions in, but that will be returning for August. Spotify. You can now listen to the Corner Cutter podcast on Spotify. They recently reopened to accept new podcasts, and the Corner Cutter podcast got in. So if you listen to podcasts on Spotify, go subscribe over there. Also, have you heard about Google Podcasts? If you're an Android user, you definitely should check out the app. I am not in there yet, but I'm working on it, and I will let you know when you can subscribe on Google Podcasts. Google is taking a big leap into the podcasting space, and it's looking pretty good. They tried last year to get into the podcasting space with Google Play Music podcasts. That didn't work out too well, and that probably won't last too much longer. I will let you know when the Corner Cutter podcast is available on Google Podcasts. Now for one of my favorite parts of the show, giving shoutouts. Color-Coded Cuber left a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts. He said, "I love your podcasts. I'm a new listener and I'm loving the content. I thought the debate was a cool idea and I think you should do more of those. Keep up the great podcasts." Thank you, Color-Coded Cuber. That's a great encouragement for me and gives me motivation to keep pumping out episodes every week. I appreciate you taking the time to leave that review in Apple Podcasts. Cube Shepherd on the Speed Solving forums left me some nice feedback. He said, "I was just listening to one of your most recent podcasts, and he heard me mention that I wanted to start learning FMC. He said he's been doing a lot of FMC the past few months, and he's averaging 34 to 36 moves. So he said, if I have any questions about FMC, feel free to ask. Thank you for offering the help. I haven't started FMC yet. I really got to get a move on that. I've just been really busy the past few weeks, so I haven't got around to that. Then he said, "Great job on all of your podcasts. I enjoyed listening to them, and I look forward to all the future ones. Keep up the good work." Thank you for the kind words and encouragement. And that's all the feedback for this week. Finally, a tip for this week's show is, I think us cubers, we don't give ourselves enough credit on how fast we actually are. Now think back to how fast you were 1 year ago. Just pick maybe your main event and think about how fast you are compared to now, and assuming you've practiced quite a bit. And think about when you've seen people getting times around the speed you are now, like maybe a year ago as well. And you thinking, wow, that's fast. I can't believe he can do it that fast. So I think a lot of us are faster than we actually think or give ourselves credit for. So that's something to think about. Let me know if you've thought about the same thing. I can remember at my first competition, I was averaging 21, 22 seconds. And I think it was Sam Young was there, and he was getting 11 to 12s, and he got a 14, and he was like, oh, that's a bad solve. I was like, wow, how can he do it that fast? That's amazing. Because that's the first time I saw someone solve it that fast in person. But now I'm averaging about 14 seconds, and I say, that's not very fast. I can always get faster. But compared to most people, that is super fast. So I don't So like I said before, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. But I would be interested to hear your thoughts on this. Please email me with your thoughts, feedback at thecornercutterpodcast.com. Thank you guys for coming back every week to listen to the Corner Cutter Podcast. I do appreciate you guys listening. Next week I will have an awesome interview. I'm not exactly sure who it will be with yet, but I've got a few people lined up. I love serving you guys in each episode of the Corner Cutter Podcast, and now I think it's time to take this episode back to the scrambling table, and I'll talk to you guys again next week in episode 45 of the Corner Cutter Podcast. Hey, for you listeners who listen all the way to the end of the episode, I just wanted to share with you some of the upcoming guests first, or this won't be the first one, but Ian Scheffler will be on the podcast very shortly, and he wrote the book Cracking the Cube. Also, I will have an episode diving into multi-blind. We are having the multi-blind Asian record holder on to talk about that, and then also I will most likely be having Phil from the Cubicle. So keep listening, thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Oh, and also I'm just getting back on track to posting episodes on late Monday, early Tuesday, so keep an eye out in your feed, most likely every Tuesday. So just to give you an update on that. Bye for real this time.